Welcome to Detroit Comics Party, episode 39. We are here today with Alexis Stepanek of Basic Brat. How are you today?
Good. Thanks for having me. It's my pleasure to be here.
Of course. Thank you for being here. So would you like to tell everybody a little bit about what you do? You're a fashion designer?
Yeah. Yep. So it's been a pretty recent project. It's only been about 8 months that I've been doing this, but it is a women's wear brand that I've been designing textiles for and sewing them into different garments. So I've been designing the textiles, screen printing, and then sewing. So it's kind of like a labor of love because it's all me and I'm designing multiple sizes and things like that. But it's been taking off and it's been really a lot of fun. So I'm stoked about it. But it started, I guess, like a year and a half ago as just like a goofy fashion blog without me making anything. And the name kind of has its own story. But I, about 8 months ago, moved into a flat in Hamtramck and had a second bedroom. And I was like kind of sick of being at a computer all day. I work in advertising and then coming home and doing more graphic design freelance work. And I was like, I don't want to be at the computer anymore. I want to make something physical. And so I kind of combined like the skill sets I had with the love I had for fashion, and it's growing from there.
That's cool.
Yeah.
That's cool. So where did the name come from?
Yeah, okay. So I was sitting around a lunch table with some of my old coworkers at the last place I worked, and we were talking about that whole phase, like Basic Bitch and like pumpkin spice lattes and North Face and Ugg boots, and kind of poking fun at that. And then I was always prefacing something that may be a little sassy with, not to be a brat, but, and then I'd say something. So it was like my version of saying no offense.
Say something bratty.
Yeah, exactly. And then we just started joking about it, and I was like, that's actually not a bad name, instead of like Basic Bitch, which is a little more like condescending, Basic Brat. And then the basic kind of alludes to a more like minimalist style, but then the brat provides the edge. So I felt like it was a good combination of those two words. So that's where I went.
So you have a lot of stuff that's like very geometric, like you have a lot of triangles and like simple geometry arranged into these patterns.
Yes.
Like what goes into that? Like, did you have some kind of design that you were looking at, or some kind of pattern that you were looking at to be inspired by?
It comes from a lot of different places. I think like different textures that I see, like either in architecture or ceramics or sculptures. That's kind of where I found a lot of that inspiration. The slime pattern that I did was literally just like a shout out to like Nickelodeon Slime Time back in the day, and I thought that that was kind of fun. But everything for now is sticking with the black and white. Started out just because it's easiest to screen print black on white. But I kind of like that that's like the go-to look now. While the textile may change, the black and white is going to be a staple, I think. So
cool. So you said you hate computers, and you're a doomsday prepper. So how are you working on the designs? Are you just like laying out a bunch of paper and inking stuff until you see a pattern come out of it?
I just go at it in a sketchbook with a Sharpie until I like something, and then that's when I have to translate it into Illustrator to then expose a screen. And I get all of my screens printed at Ocelot in Midtown. I thought I was going to be able to do it in my bathroom, but then like that is very tricky and time intensive and not always successful. So I was like, I'll just have them do it.
But in a basement, we played at screen printing.
I still have like 5 screens that are just locked in. They're just blank. You put ink on them and run them, and nothing goes through. They're just, every hole is filled. It's like we exposed all the emulsion at once, I guess.
Oh.
Locked it all in. So
jeez.
But we filled up your basement before entirely with printing.
Yeah.
Nice.
That's like, we've done a couple screen printing projects and have these like really conservatively sized screens, and like the biggest one is like, I don't know, like a card table.
Yeah.
If you're doing all over print on fabric, do you have screens that are 4 feet long?
No, I don't. They're like the 16 by 24 standard size.
Oh my God.
You
really don't want to be by a computer.
It takes a long ass time to print the fabric. So what I have to do is I measure out and like with a washable fabric pencil, like mark out the sections, and then you skip over a couple, and so you slowly fill in the grid over like 8 hours.
Wow.
So are you sewing everything?
Yeah.
Whoa.
Yeah. So that's why I said it's a labor of love, because it's like a one-woman show.
Did you just get into that 8 months ago or whatever?
No.
Or you were sewing before?
Well, loosely.
Okay.
Sewing.
Now you're sewing more tightly?
Yeah. Well, growing up, my mom and I used to go to a lot of thrift stores together. She would have fun, like, deal finding or whatever, right? Treasure finding. And so I would always tag along with her. And then she started to teach me how to alter my own clothes that I'd find, like, oh, I really like this, but it's 2 sizes too big. So she would teach me with our sewing machine at home, like how to make it fit more properly.
Cool.
And then that kind of spun into me making my homecoming and prom dresses in high school. So like I have that whole skill set, but was never like formally trained. Like I didn't go to fashion school, or like I didn't learn how to be a seamstress. So YouTube has been my biggest friend.
I picture your prom dress being a giant triangle.
No, I wasn't there yet. Maybe now it would be though.
What did they look like?
So the homecoming dress was like a Marilyn Monroe gold metallic style dress, like, you know, that white one where she's like doing the little classic Marilyn Monroe move. So it was a gold metallic version of that. And then my prom dress was like navy blue, kind of like high-waisted 50s housewife style dress, okay? And then I did like a pattern with peacock feathers on that, so.
Neat.
Yeah, very different than what I'm doing now. I had a very different aesthetic in high school. I was like the gold puffy jacket and the bamboo hoop earrings, and like, I don't know if you guys remember this, I don't want to be misquoted, but I'm pretty sure it was Run DMC's daughters started a shoe line. It was called Pastries. It may not have been him, but I'm pretty sure it was some rapper's daughters started the shoe line, and I loved them.
Yeah?
Yeah.
What did they look like?
Mine were black primarily with like hot pink and gold accents, and they were like the high tops, you know?
Cool.
So that was what I was going for back then.
That's cool.
Yeah.
I super don't know that, but now I have to go Google image all.
Yeah.
Oh, that would be a cool screen printing project, is like doing like t-shirts that are printed with the images of those shoes.
I thought you were going to say doing bootleg DMC's daughter shoe line.
Right, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know whatever happened to that, but it was super popular for a little bit, at least in my world.
That's cool. So when you're doing like the big prints, do you have to print one section and then wait for it to dry and then do the next section?
Yep.
So do you have a bunch of fabrics laid out where you do one section, and then move to the next one on each piece?
So I get the fabric in like yards, so it's all folded up, and then again, really fortunate to be able to work out of my apartment. It's kind of like a narrow, long apartment, so from one end to the other, I will lay it out.
Long?
Yeah, it's one fabric long. No, it's about like 4 yards at a time that I can do.
Oh, cool.
And so like put out the tarp or whatever and set everything up, and then we'll screen print. Like I said, like I'll do one print and then skip over 2 and then do another. And so it's kind of like a grid system that you slowly fill in, and then sometimes I'll just hit it with a hairdryer, and that helps speed it up, because otherwise it just takes frickin' forever.
Are you using acrylic inks, or do you have I'm wanting to get the heat, not exposure, but the like setting machine to get plastisol to set?
Yeah, so no, I'm not using plastisol. I'm using acrylic water-based inks, and luckily I found this ink where you can heat set it, but it also sets over 7 days. So just don't wash the fabric for 7 days, and it's set. So I've been like ironing and doing like, you know, the DIY screen print setting,
Right.
And then obviously waiting the 7 days to sew it. So it's very planned out. Yeah.
That's awesome.
If you spend like, I assume, 300 hours making 4 yards of fabric, like how many items do you get out of it? Like do you get a couple dresses, or? Yeah,
so the skirt that I'm wearing and the shirt, this is about a yard of fabric each, so I could make like 2 outfits from 4 yards.
Okay. Cool.
Yeah. Yep. So it's.
So are each of them $800?
No, I've been trying to keep it pretty like affordable.
Cool.
I don't want to be that jerk that is trying to sell clothes for like $400 and like looking at the community around me and being like, no one can afford this. Yeah. That's not what I want.
These are not for you.
Yeah, I don't want to be elitist about it.
Well, that's cool.
Yeah,
that's
so.
Cool.
Mm-hmm.
So you, have you been do you do any shows? Like, are there trade shows for fashion type stuff in the area?
Yeah.
Or is it like craft fairs?
Those are called
or what?
fashion shows, honey.
You don't. Do you think a fashion show is like a comic show where it's just people sitting at 6-foot tables going like, oh, dresses?
Yeah.
That's what I wish.
I don't know. You might not find that scenario, but
isn't the purpose of a fashion show is that buyers are in the audience?
Yeah. So like traditional fashion shows, obviously, like you have the runway with the models and all of that, and you usually give like your front row seats to buyers, and then they would pick and choose from your line. Oh, I want to stock this. I want to stock that. I want to stock that. And again, it's always 6 months in advance. I have not adhered to that schedule. I'm more like on the fly. Like I'll get it done and then launch it. So I don't have a timetable with it. But yeah, so I actually have some garments in Simplified store right now of the slime print. And that'll be there for the holiday period. And then I've been doing a couple like holiday markets with John and Ash at Hot to Death. And so that's been cool to kind of partner with them and share that table.
Cool.
But
yeah, everything on that table goes together very nicely.
It does, which is great. So that's kind of what is going on for now. There was like the raw artists, and this is going to be out in the world, so I hope they don't hate me for saying this. But the raw artist group, are you guys familiar with that?
No.
It's like this national, maybe international show type thing that they do in different cities, and it's like an artist, musician, fashion design showcase, and they're doing it in Detroit for the first time, and they have reached out and asked if I wanted to participate, and I like had a weird feeling about it, and I wasn't quite sure, and so I did some research, and you have to sell 40 tickets at like $20 each.
So it's like
it seems like a pyramid
bands for like fashion designers.
Yeah.
That's horrible.
And I was like, this feels
That's rotten.
so sketchy, not something I want to be a part of. So I turned that down.
That sounds dopey.
Yeah,
Yeah.
not something I wanted to align myself with right now. Or ever, I don't know.
That's a good bullet to dodge.
Yeah, I think so. So on the flip side, I was like, well, why am I going to force my friends and family to pay this $20 to come see something that should be necessarily like a free thing, especially at where I'm at. Like I'm not like Dior or anything yet, where I can charge crazy amount for tickets.
Not yet.
Not yet. But so I was like, well, I know enough people in Detroit to make something happen that's just as cool, if not cooler, on my own. So I've been scheming for something in the spring and summer to kind of do like a party launch thing. So
Cool.
Yeah.
Like a runway type of deal, or?
Yeah, I'm not sure entirely what it will be. I want it to be summer themed, and I've been starting to plan and design some bathing suits, so it might end up being a pool party. I'm not entirely sure yet.
We know some people who do pool.
Yeah, we do. We know some people that do pool parties.
That's a cool idea.
Yeah, so we'll see. A lot of options.
Is it hard? Have you started trying to do the swimsuits? Is it difficult to print on like the stretchy things, or do you have to get that made?
I would have to get that made.
Okay.
Yeah, that's not something I want to like mess around with.
Yeah.
I feel like with the elastic and then the material, it starts to get really tricky. So I've been looking into and communicating with different like manufacturers around Michigan, and we'll see what happens.
That's cool.
Have you found? I did some work in advertising and kind of marketing, and found that those skills that I was good at professionally didn't help me do a weird thing.
Yes.
What do you find?
Yes. I was just talking to someone about this the other day, where I was like, oh my God, like, I do digital strategy. So I design websites and come up with like social marketing and media plans. Okay. So, you would think that I would be really good at that for myself.
Right.
I'm horrible at it. I sent a link of my website, or someone had sent out a link to one of their friends on my website, and he was like, oh, she couldn't find your contact information. I was like, oh, it was under About. And he's like, well, maybe you should call it Contact then. And I was like, yeah, okay, I probably should. And it's like something that simple, like I would totally catch in the day job, but I feel like I'm so focused on like a million other things that those skills like aren't transferring the way I'd want them to.
You're still doing the day job at the exact same time, and you're doing all the like physical labor to create all this stuff, and then you have to do your day job again for yourself.
Yep. It's a little more fun when it is for yourself. Like
it is, but it's like what is left in your body to be able to do it.
Not a whole lot.
I also feel like in a marketing advertising way, like I can run the script of like, this is how a corporation wants to, put their message out there.
Yeah.
And then when I get home and we're talking about weird comics or weird films or whatever we're doing, my brand would never stoop so low as to be, described or presented in the way that $1 million corporations love to be.
Totally. And like I used to work in entertainment brands, and so that was a lot more freeform. Right. And so it's definitely an interesting contrast. Like I would know that the things I'd want to do for my own brand would never fly if I presented them to the client, in terms of like, I don't know, pushing the boundaries a little bit more. And so it's exciting that I'm like, oh, I could do these crazy schemes one day for my own brand. Like being your own boss is really exciting. Creative freedom, all about it.
And like if you think of something while you're at work that's like, they won't go for this, you could save it for yourself.
Oh, I do. I mean, maybe not for myself, but like I try to like keep track of all the ideas where I'm like, that's not even worth telling someone because they'll just shut it down. So I'm like, I'll just make a note. Someone else will buy it.
And I think I see a lot of some businesses are on a huge scale. Like even if it's just like one guy doing one thing, they're on a huge scale that I could never touch. Like I think we're excited if we sell 100 books in a quarter.
Yeah.
And I was talking to this guy and was like, what if we did these labels on this nice brown paper and it's like real textured and we did screen prints and it would feel nice.
Yeah.
And he's like, you're a freaking idiot because I sell 10,000 of these things a day. It would blow my margins to have this beautiful product when all it needs to be is a crappy old sticker slapped on some cellophane and that's the product,
Yep.
And it's just a dude who just like walks around and sells the thing and goes to the place and gets it in stores. Like, I feel like we could be on that level, but how would we ever reach that level when it's like I'm painstakingly printing each of these by hand? Or
I think it's a huge balance of like how much do I care about the creative process and how much do I care about the quality and like quality assurance and quality control and like the paper with like the texture and all of that. Like what are you willing to sacrifice and then how do you grow that and like what are people willing to pay? So it's like this constant juggle too of like.
I think it's also about figuring out like, okay, you have this range of items that you want to sell, and then there will be the ones that are like high quality, high amount of work going into it, but you need to figure out like, here's also the one that doesn't cost $1 zillion to make or 1 million hours, and that you can sell a lot of this one at a lower price to figure that out.
Definitely.
I haven't done that yet, but I'm trying to figure it out.
I want to become a luxury comics brand where
I think that's what we're moving to.
Where all of the comics that are $5 just get thrown in the trash can, and now every comic is $50, and every comic deserves that. Like if we were talking earlier about doing the fashion magazine thing, and I don't imagine it being like going to buy Vogue for $7 or whatever. It's going to be like getting a coffee table book, and it's going to be $50, and it's going to be limited edition just because it's weird format and good paper and all those things.
It's 4 feet tall and 4 inches wide.
Well, but I don't know if I'm making, I don't remember what my point was. Isn't it nicer to spend a lot of money on something you're going to love and cherish and that means a lot to all parties than to just have a cheap thing? Like, even my coolest best-selling books are still kind of cheap, and I feel like people like look at them, get a chuckle, and then it like falls between their bed and the wall and gets like spider webs on it. It's like forgotten immediately.
There's an idea for a zine: forgotten books under your bed.
But how do you track the movements of your products once they go into the world? Do you follow like what situations and contexts they end up in?
Yeah, so that's something that, yes. So I also have been trying to figure out like, okay, not everyone can afford the outfit, but maybe people could afford a hat or a tote bag or things like that. So I have been trying to figure out that scale. Yes, yeah. And so that's something I've been playing with, and I have tried to get as many people as I can who've purchased to send me a picture if they wear it or if they use it or how they're using it or provide feedback, because I am a growing brand, so like I want to understand what the situations are. And so that's been fun to kind of see. And it's also been really interesting to see how people react to one pattern versus the other, and like the personality types that align with the slime versus the geometric. And like those are the only two patterns I have for now, but it's like a strong divide in personality with aesthetic. So that's been super cool to learn from as well.
Do you like when you're selling in person, like at a show or something like that, do you like being able to, I like being able to see the actual reaction? Because normally, like with the comic stuff, it's like, it's something it goes from you to the other person. You never see them experiencing it or looking at it or what they like or what they don't like about it. And it just like disappears, you know? So like at the shows, it's kind of cool to see like this person's face do a different thing when they look at this piece.
Positively or negatively.
Yeah, but it's interesting. And then like it kind of helps you figure out like, maybe what's the check boxes about this person's like personality type that makes them like this thing, that thing.
Yeah, definitely. It's a little bit of like anthropology thrown into the mix, right?
Yeah.
Yes, and it's fun. And I liked when at the Detroit Art Book Fair with John and Ash, they were like, "You don't have to be here," and I'm like, "Well, no, but I kind of do." Like, I think I do, and I want to.
Did they tell you that when you were like sitting next to them?
You can leave now.
You don't have to be here.
No,
like, wow.
They like when we were talking about the details, they were like, "You don't have to stick around." So it wasn't. Hopefully, it wasn't like I don't know, unwelcomed presence.
I'm just kidding.
But yeah, so I do like having those conversations, and like with Simplified, like having the clothes in their store sounds really creepy, but I like wish I could be there and like in the fitting room with people, being like, okay, so like how does that fit your body type, and like let's learn from this. So I keep asking.
Get out of here. Who are you?
Who is this stranger? You don't even work here. No, I don't.
You're just in there, and this like little like tape measure like drops down from the ceiling next to them, and you come down.
Yeah, very creepy. But yeah, so it's something that I have really enjoyed seeing how it grows with different people.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
What do you want it to be like in the next 5 years? What do you want it to look like?
That's a really good question. I feel like I'm on a day-to-day almost to-do list, or like 6 months, let's say, because I'm going into spring and summer. Like my to-do list, I think the top of it is like buy a new iron right now. Like I'm thinking very minute by minute, but knowing that I do want it to keep growing, I kind of have to figure out how like to expand it. Like, for instance, you can't print all your comics and zines yourself. You have to work with a publisher, right? Or like a printer, because you guys are publishing. So there's that aspect of it. Like, how do I grow this? And like, how do I also be able to quit my day job in a couple of years? And so that's the ultimate goal. I don't know where I see it, because I think it's like such a fluid growth. But
is it part of the process, like deciding which parts of it you want to outsource and which parts you want to like upgrade your own equipment so that you can do it more efficiently on your own?
Yep. It is kind of a mixture of that. So like the bathing suit, I know that that is not worth it from the quality standpoint for me to do it myself. But then I like invested in a serger and a nice machine, and I'm looking at like cover stitch machines. So yeah, I don't want to make everything, but I still want to be hands-on, and I'm trying to figure out what that balance looks like. I think this winter is going to be a lot of planning, is what it is. But yeah, a lot of scheming. Perfect time for it. I don't have to leave.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah.
Are you going to be making any like big poofy coats or anything like that?
I'd love to. Puffer jackets.
Yeah.
Where I'm like wearing a sleeping bag. Yeah. Ideally. Not this winter, but I'd love to.
I think the look that was like, was it a 90s like Helmut Lang parka that was like this long, and it was the puffy, it was like all white puffy. That look needs to come back.
think I remember you showing me that picture like someday.
He's still pushing for it. Like secretly, he wants that for Christmas, I think.
One day that's going to come up on eBay and like somebody's kept this on ice in just my size.
Right.
It's $20,000.
I don't think it was cheap. I mean, what
Well,
helmet length is cheap?
Yeah,
No,
none of it. So
Maybe one
It's
day
not one of those cheap $20,000 ones.
Right. But wouldn't it be worth it if a garment makes you feel good every time you wear it? Like, I've got favorite shirts and I've got favorite like coats and stuff, but like some of them make me feel like a super person.
Yeah.
Like that one with the blue lapels, like that coat makes me feel freaking stylish and powerful every time I wear it. And wouldn't that be worth an extremely high price?
I
If
think
it makes
so.
you feel good every time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I would say so.
I think that's
So start saving up for the investment. Yeah.
I want to feel good.
right.
But like, wouldn't you be scared to wear like a almost floor length white puffy jacket? Like, I feel like it would get so dirty
It would
so
get filthy
quick.
the second I put it on.
Yeah.
And that's what I was thinking. Like if I had a Lamborghini, it would have like McDouble wrappers and like orange Cheeto dust on the steering wheel. It wouldn't be.
We were gonna get
nice
one with
for
a
long.
trailer hitch.
Exactly.
Could you imagine a Lamborghini like pulling some like real gross ass fishing boat behind it or something?
We wanted to pull like a wood chipper behind
Oh, even better. I like it.
All right. Well,
that's
we
it.
need to wood chip ourselves out of here.
Cool.
That's the end of this show.
Awesome.
But
Well,
thank
thank
you
you.
so much
Thank
for
you for
being
coming
on.
on.
Yeah, thank
And,
you. It's been fun.
Thank you. And we'll see everyone next time. Thanks for watching.
Now we wave awkwardly to the camera.
1, 2,